Then you see, my good fellow, with a cart and a couple of oxen our business can be managed. The cart must be tastefully ornamented, and if you and I dress ourselves as Neapolitan reapers, we may get up a striking tableau, after the manner of the splendid picture by Leopold Robert. It would add greatly to the effect if the countess would join us in the costume of a peasant from Pizzoli or Sorrento. Our group would then be quite complete, more especially as the countess is quite beautiful enough to represent a Madonna. Well, said Franz, this time, Monsieur Albert, I am bound to give you credit for having hit upon a most capital idea. And a quite national one, too, replied Albert with gratified pride. A mere mask borrowed from our own festivities. Ha ha! Ye Romans! You thought to make us, unhappy strangers, trot at the heels of your processions, like so many lazzaroni, because no carriages or horses were to be had in your beggarly city. But you don't know us. When we can't have one thing, we invent another. And have you communicated your triumphant idea to anybody? Only to our host. Upon my return home, I sent for him, and then I explained to him what I wished to procure. He assured me that nothing would be easier than to furnish all I desired. One thing I was sorry for. When I bade him have the horns of the oxen gilded, he told me there would not be time, as it would require 3 days to do that. So you see, we must do without this little superfluity. And where is he now? Who? Our host. Gone out in search of our equipage. By tomorrow it might be too late. Then he will be able to give us an answer tonight. Oh, I expect him every minute. Okay, we talked a bit before about Carnival being a place for costumes and pageantry, parades and floats. Well, maybe that's a modern way of thinking about it. But I don't think it's too far off, because here they're talking about striking a visual tableau, particularly inspired by art, dropping the name of Leopold Robert here. But what are they dressing up as here? Neapolitan reapers, which is important, I think, to know, considering they are pivoting from getting a carriage, which would highlight their aristocratic ways. They're leaning into the idea of, well, why don't we get a cart and we just dress up as Neapolitan reapers, which were actually agricultural workers, particularly from Naples in Italy. Could also refer to cavalry, Neapolitan cavalry. I don't think that's exactly what they're saying here, because as he goes on to explain, quote, it would add greatly to the effect if the countess would join us in the costume of a peasant from Pizzoli or Sorrento. So I definitely think they are leaning towards the agricultural side of things. The last bit of context we get for that is the name drop of Leopold Robert, who I'm looking at some of his art right now in Google Images, and yeah, these are striking tableaus. I would definitely spend some time in a museum looking at these. And yes, I would go alone so I could read all the plaques by myself at my own rate and not have to burden everybody else with how slow I'm going. But yeah, some of these are really quite striking. I wouldn't call it simple. I mean, but it's not necessarily like photo realistic, but I don't have the art history background to know movements and give you the exact way of defining what these look like. To me, in my untrained, uneducated mind, kind of looks like a interesting middle ground between expressionistic stuff that would start coming out in the later 19th century and the more medieval Victorian era photorealistic stuff by like Rubens and other artists of the time. Sorry, I'm distracted while looking at all these photos. Not that, you couldn't be expressionistic and photorealistic at the same time. Look at Caravaggio. Shout out to my other co-host who constantly goes on about Caravaggio. You can't shut him up about Caravaggio. He just Caravaggio this, Caravaggio that. I'm kidding. I deeply appreciate everything that he has learned and written about Caravaggio. But to my memory, this is the first reference to a visual artist that Dumas has dropped. He's done playwrights before, he's done other authors before, poets, but this is the first time I remember him saying anything about a painter. Anyway, let's just wrap up today's episode by acknowledging another kind of characteristic that's emerging out of Albert, which is his innovativeness, his ability to adapt, his ability to innovate. He doesn't seem to be one to be defeated by anything, and through creative limitation comes some of his best work, it seems, or his best ideas. I guess we got to see how it comes off. All right, well, join me here tomorrow. At this point, I have no idea where we're heading in this chapter. We have about 6 episodes left, so join me here tomorrow while we see what they get up to, shall we? Okay, until then, goodbye. The Countdown of Monte Cristo is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. This show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Theme song by Magic Solo. If you want to support the show and others like it, visit patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.